It's time now for the 360 round. Let's bring in our panel to discuss Qualcomm's earnings. Joining us now, Jim Kelleher, the Director of Research, Senior Technology Analyst at Argus Research, and Ben Bajarin, the CEO and Principal Analyst at Creative Strategies. Jim, we'll start with you. You've got a buy rating, a $205 price target on shares right now, trading at 170, down about 5% following the earnings. What were your thoughts overall on the report?
Well, I'd say, thanks, Marley. I'd say that my thoughts on the report overall, some encouraging signs in those parts of QCT, their chip business, that actually includes handsets, but particularly in automotive where they're outperforming, and, a real positive place they're moving into in the PC market. They're dipping their toes in the data center and the GPU side. Good full year momentum in the IoT space. So a good diversified performance by QCT. We've definitely seen some slowing in the licensing business, but that's a steady and high margin contributor. So overall, a good report. It's a difficult trading day for the market. Not surprised the stock is down. It's finally had a little momentum this year after really kind of deeply lagging for like 5 years. So reasonably encouraged by the report.
And Ben, how about you? Were you reasonably encouraged? What were some of your key takeaways?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think obviously having a beat and a raise is good. It's positive for their business. I think, them stating that they're on track for the revenue goals in 2029, I think is encouraging. That's been a question amongst everybody in the industry in terms of their diversification efforts from smartphones. Obviously, we're seeing, strong seasonality in smartphones across the board, so it wasn't terribly shocking that they're continuing to see, handset revenues be what they are. Obviously, the next 2 quarters are a relatively strong cycle in all markets. We expect them to benefit from that as well. The automotive stuff, obviously equally positive, right? Hitting $1 billion, being on trajectory for the backlog of pipeline that both Cristiano Amon and Akash have said over time, I think is positive. I do expect, different seasonality relative to IoT and some other things where, they might see some seasonality impact that. But then again, right, the data center revenue is really the nut I think everybody's looking at. That's the biggest dollar TAM amount in growth expansion that everybody's chasing. So I think there's a lot of encouraging signs for them that they said they'll talk more about, obviously, some deals that will be announced. But if you look just a lot of the upside in sheer dollar amount that they can go after, that's why everybody's excited about the data center. It remains, one of the biggest opportunities for everybody in semiconductors, Qualcomm included.
And Jim, you said that it's a tough day to be on the heels of your earnings, in the markets, just because we do have a sea of red right now. But despite that beat, we still saw the stock fall after hours, and it's continuing its downward trend right now. What do you think investors are most concerned about?
Well, the big concern is the roll-off of Apple modem revenue. It could be quite substantial amount, multiple billions per year. And already iPhone 17 Air has a house-built Apple modem. The rest of the i17 line still using Qualcomm modems, but I would assume by 18 they'll be gone. Christian really kind of started things off by talking about their success in the premium tier Android market, and he made a good point that they're very strong in premium tier, whereas in Asia, maybe in lower and middle tier, someone like a MediaTek might be there, but that as more and more people around the world move to premium tier, they can bump up their share, from 50% of the handsets manufactured by a given Android OEM to maybe 65 or 70% because they're in those premium tiers. I think another thing that they really highlighted was the success of Snapdragon Summit. It's their 10th one. And in much the same way that NVIDIA really promotes GTC as a way to kind of publicize themselves before the broader mass of investors, I think Qualcomm is really trying to position Snapdragon Summit as kind of an event day. They talked about 500 million social media posts around that. And it does give them a chance to really highlight, the Elite, the Snapdragon Elite 8 for PCs and their ride product for the automotive, and of course their Snapdragon AI for handsets. So I think basically the pivot away from Apple is going to be the crucial navigation for this company in the next couple of years.
And Ben, you highlighted another crucial component here for the company in the future is this data center build out, these data center revenues, this drive into this. With their push into this AI-driven data center world, their partnership with Humane and their Saudi Arabian AI infrastructure play, is Qualcomm quietly becoming an AI hardware play?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal, right? And obviously, anybody who's in semiconductors providing chips to the data center has some pretty high expectations. And I think the nature of the competition is changing there, right? We note that we're still largely in a training era of data center chips. I think the commentary from Cristiano and others about their desire that this will be more of an specific inference designed product lines up with our expectations that you'll actually see a wave of products in the data center that are either inference specific, training specific, maybe a hybrid of those. So more fragmentation in the portfolio. So I think they're fairly clear-eyed at the opportunity and where they want to go with specifics relative to inference, both obviously CPU and AI accelerators on the back of some pretty good NPU technology that they have. So this is obviously the goal, right? I think they are approaching this purely from what they want to do in data center from a semiconductor standpoint, which is obviously hardware. But like I said, it's one of the biggest growth TAMs that we've seen in terms of rapid pace, and everybody competing there is going to be welcomed competition for the incumbents.
Well, we appreciate you both being with us to talk Qualcomm after their earnings. That's Jim Kelleher from Argus Research and Ben Bajarin from Creative Strategies. We are seeing Qualcomm down about 5% after their beat and raise quarter they reported yesterday after the